Welcome, everybody. 112, what it is right now. 112, what it is right now. Show 112. How y'all feeling? Welcome to Wire to Wire Sports Podcast. I am your happy host, Gene Walzak. And to my upper right, I got to do it this way. No, to my upper right, I got Uncle Shally. We're at the Wire to Wire in the upper right. How you feeling tonight, Shally? You feeling better this week? No more sickness?
Yeah, I'm on the other side of it. I'm feeling. I had a great weekend, so I'm feeling good.
You had a good weekend? What happened? We'll get into it in a minute. To my
It's
my
like we won
upper
a big
left
football
corner.
game.
Not yet. I got Kent State's own, Cleveland's own, College, Cuttrell.
What's going on, guys?
You sound somber. What happened?
Nothing much. Roadblock. Had a detour. We just got to find our way back on the path. That's all.
The beaten path.
Detour.
Yeah.
We had a football game that happened this past weekend, and
Drove off a bridge.
It's funny because the game played out almost identical to the way it did last year. Back and forth game in the first half. Ohio State was winning. It looked like they had somewhat of a control of the game, and then something changed. Middle of the third quarter. Ended a second, if you were being honest. And I don't want to get too far into it now because I'm going to give it to Shally and pass it over to him. I don't think he'll give very unbiased commentary.
No.
That's okay. I watched the game and I think I can give unbiased commentary. Steve Roth, what's happening? You can join us, just not on the live right now. We got a schedule. We'll talk to you offline. We do a lot of prep for our show. So Michael Robert Lafferty, long time no see. Paul
Where
Graff,
you been, man?
Greffers. How y'all feeling tonight, boys? But let's talk about the Ohio State-Michigan game. And if you don't mind, Bill, before I pass to you, before you gloat a little too much, I want to at least give what I thought happened in the game. The game started, and it was very, very close, a back-and-forth game. Ohio State had the lead, and Michigan was just keeping up with them. And I thought it was very obvious what the game plan was for Ohio State. Stop the run. And they were loading the box to stop the run. They were doing a very good job of it. And they had the lead when they were doing it early in the first half. And then J.J. McCarthy hit a couple really big passes over the top of single coverage. Wide receivers running away from single coverage because Ohio State was loading up to stop the run. After that happened, they had to respect the deep pass because they got burnt for a couple of deep touchdowns. Just call it like it is. They couldn't just load everything into the box to stop the run. When that happens, Donovan Edwards just had a game. Kid had a game. 2 huge runs in the fourth quarter. I think it was an 85-yarder to break the back. I thought the game was over when Ohio State didn't convert on that fourth down in the red zone. But if you had any question whether the game was over, that 85-yarder just to the house took it. So, Bill, your team won. I'll hand it to you for you to give somewhat of a breakdown. I guarantee you it will not be unbiased, but go ahead.
No, I mean you hit on some of the good points. I mean I was obviously happy with the way it played out. I'm glad nobody bitched about the weather this year, about people having the flu, or if the team was actually ready for us this year. There was no excuses. That was nice to hear afterwards. But no, listen. I mean, their number one goal was to stop the run. I talked to everybody all week. Everybody kept DMing me. They're like, "You guys have no shot without Corum." And I told them, I said, you can believe what you want to believe. I mean, you don't foul the team. And I've said it, and Cottrell knows this already. Donovan Edwards is the better running back. He's the more complete running back. The kid's a star. He's a 5-star recruit. He will be an absolute monster next year and the year after. I knew we were going to be fine. As long as he could suit up and play, I knew we had a chance. He had a broken hand, which concerned me because, he had to carry the ball in his off hand, amongst other things, no matter what side of the field he was running to. So that worried me a little bit with, forcing fumbles or stuff like that. But in regards to the running game, you broke it down pretty perfectly. Ohio State came out hell-bent to stop it at the beginning. They were successful. And we got into the other big recruit that came in the same year as Donovan Edwards and JJ McCarthy. Jim Harbaugh took a lot of shit at the beginning of the year for holding a quarterback competition between JJ McCarthy and Cade McNamara. People said it was crazy. Cade's coming off, winning the first Big Ten for us in forever. Got us to the college football playoff. It was a bold move, but that's why. I think the second touchdown to Cornelius Johnson over the middle, I think all three of us would have hit him with that pass. But, the other two passes are indicative of why JJ won the job and he was in the game. He's a playmaker. That first one that we threw to the sideline, that's probably a sack with Cade. And I don't know if he hits the tight end on the other one. And those plays help break open the game and really take Ohio State out of what they wanted to do. And they were successful in the first half. And I agree with towards the end of the second quarter, you started to see the breaks in it a little bit. JJ started running himself a little bit more, which is another weapon he has. He had a really tough touchdown run towards the end. Gave up his body a little bit, took a pretty big shot, actually. Scored a touchdown. And, like I said, we went into half, and I felt really good about the game at halftime. And then, like you said, man, the offensive line after the first half just still, got stymied a lot, but they were still getting 3 yards here, 4 yards there. And then when they couldn't load the box anymore, man, they just started leaning on Ohio State. That offensive line took that game over. And then all of a sudden you saw Donovan Edwards 6 yards here, 7 yards here. JJ would run, fake the RPO and go the other way. I mean, you start to see a big chunk plays coming. And then I got really excited. And like you said, the two backbreakers back to back were, it was Exhibit A and Exhibit B of why Michigan won the game. Back to back possessions. And, that was pretty much it, man. So for all the hype of Jim Knowles and, the attitude being different and so forth and so on, he turned around and gave up more points than the guy who did last year. So, I don't know. I mean, it's 2 in a row. I'm not going to sit here and say we're going to win 9 in a row. I don't think that's realistic, but I can tell you the culture has definitely changed with that football team. And I think Harbaugh finally swallowing his ego a little bit 2 years ago and all the changes you heard coming out saying that, things were different. I mean, proof's kind of in the pudding. That's 2 years in a row. They pretty much just thumped them. So, we'll see. We got Purdue Saturday and see what happens after that. But, that was the one thing I said it last week. I still wasn't sure what Ohio State was defensively. And I'm still not. After the Penn State game was eye-opening to me. Penn State had a lot of success. Ohio State got turnovers in that game when they needed it. But if not, Penn State moved the ball. I thought we would have success, and we did. So, kind of we are what we are. If you can't stop it, you're going to get run over. And that's what happened again for the second year in a row.
I'm sure you liked it. Kneecap biting with smoking Jeremy B. It's a Michigan guy, Detroit Lions fan. What's up, Timmy Todd? How you feeling? Coach Dante, Kyle Edwards, the man, the myth, the legend. So Joseph Jefferson said, save those excuses for Kirk. And then Cade McNamara, Michael Robert Laffey talking about Cade McNamara transferring. What's up, Caleb Clay? Yep. How you feeling? So Cottrell, your response to what happened, did you see it any differently than what I said? I know that Bill was going to put his take on it. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was.
Of course, he had to throw the Michigan flair on there. But you're right. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. It wasn't as bad as it would have been if Ohio State would have won, especially after coming off a loss last year. But I mean, to Bill's point, the two guys that performed best on Saturday were the two guys that me and Bill have been talking about before they were even on campus, and that's JJ McCarthy and Donovan Edwards. Those are two 5-star kids who, I was essentially, dreading that day coming where those guys are the starters and they're on the field, and they showed you exactly why they're 5-star athletes. I will say in that game though, to me at least, this one kind of hurts more than the one last year. Last year it was like, all right, we were out physical, all that, they wanted it more. They were dirtier in the trenches. They had their will offensive and defensive line. This year, it was more like, I feel like our players didn't step up to play, at least defensively. Obviously, the offense was stagnant, things like that at times, but defensively, I know everyone says that the Jim Knowles game plan coming in was very arrogant, and to an extent, I agree with that. But at the same time, all year, Michigan has been so reliant on the running game to get them to where they want it to be. If you come in with the mindset of we have to stop them because we don't know, what this kid, this is JJ McCarthy's first time coming to the shoe. This is his first year being a starter. We don't know how he's going to handle if he has the pressure on him to win a game like this. We don't know if he can make these tight throws in these situations. We know he's a 5-star kid, but we haven't seen him have to take over a game. So let's make him make those tough plays to beat us. So while I was upset that we gave up those chunk plays, I agreed with the game plan coming in. Now, at halftime, once you saw the big plays starting to happen, I think that's when Jim Knowles should have made his adjustment, and that just didn't happen. And then you realize that Jim Knowles was starting to make those adjustments, selling out for the run. You miss a gap, and then that's how Donovan Edwards gets sprung for an 80-yard touchdown and 70-yard touchdowns on back-to-back possessions. So I think, for me at least, I'm putting more of this blame, I guess you could say. Ryan Day, offensively, didn't like a lot of the play calls. I know we've had some issues at running back with the guys being in and out of the lineup. You run out Trotman, number 19, at running back. This was his first game ever being a starter for us all season. Dallin Hayden had a great game last game. And then, at a point, as much as I know, Gene, you don't like CJ Stroud, you got to eventually let him air the ball out, and you got to call plays for Marvin Harrison to get his hands on the ball, Emeka Ibuka to get his hands on the ball. You saw Marvin Harrison get the long touchdown pass in the first half, and you didn't see any more of that. It almost seems as Ryan Day gets scared once he sees too high coverage. It's like, all right, we got to call some conservative here, throw underneath, things like that. And I just feel like this is more of a coaching blunder on his behalf. And I don't think it was necessarily like this time. I didn't think it was they wanted it more than us. Like they fought harder, things like that. I think Jim Harbaugh outcoached them on the field. And that's for me what makes this game hurt worse.
Okay. So I just kind of want to rebuttal one thing. I feel like I don't hate CJ Stroud, and I know that I give him a lot of hate. I think the part that bothers me the most is what I see in him. So when I watched Justin Fields, I was a fan, right? Like I'm trying to be unbiased when I look at these players and these quarterbacks coming out of these universities. And with CJ Stroud, what I've seen was every time he went into a big moment with a big situation versus a very big team, he didn't look great. Like, yeah, he's looking great throwing to 5-star kids running away from 4-7 corners that are never going to play in the league. You got first-round talent at the wide receiver position. And, yeah, he's going to look great running it up on Rutgers. Like, that's cool. But the part that really frustrates me is they anointed this kid as if he was incredible. Do you know when Justin Fields sold me the first game versus Clemson? When they played against the national championship Clemson team. Actually, I don't know if they won the national title that year, but regardless, the first time when they lost.
But yeah. Yep.
He sold me in that game, and I got to watch him a whole year after loving him in that, and then he went out through 6 touchdowns versus that same Clemson team that beat him in the college football playoff. Like, how poetic of him. You don't sell me on beating Maryland by 38 points. You don't sell me on beating Indiana by 40. You sell me on beating Michigan at Michigan last year. And he didn't look like a number 1 NFL quarterback, like a number 1 pick. And it's not, I don't think the hate for me comes from me not liking CJ Stroud. He's a great kid. You know what I mean? I don't think he's a bad kid at all.
Right.
I think it comes from the overhype that he gets because he's the quarterback of Ohio State University, and they have 3 5-star kids at wide receiver, and they're playing against guys that they can run past the entire year. I want to see him do what Justin Fields did for me to anoint him. Is that unfair?
No. I think that's very fair. I think my only issue with it, because I agree, all the criticism that you gave him last year, I 100% agree. Like I'm on board with that. I think this year he's shown some improvement. And yeah, you could say, the Notre Dame game, it was a ranked team, first game of the year. But I think it's tough. You talk about having these 5-star guys, and yes, that's true. Abuka is a 5-star guy and Harrison's a 5-star guy. But when you lose your favorite target in that game, I understand how the chemistry can be thrown off and you got to adjust on the fly. So I somewhat understand that one. The Penn State game, yes, started off a little bit slower for them. Eventually, the defense helped out a lot in that game, but Penn State has a solid defense. It takes time to adjust to it. And eventually I think he got there. This Michigan game, outside of the interception late where he tried to force the underhand throw, of course he has some errant throws here and there in that game, but I didn't think that was a game where if we had a better quarterback we would have won. I didn't think that watching that game, and I think at a point you have to, whether you fully trust him or you think he's the best quarterback in the nation, second best, third best, whatever, at a point you got to trust him to get the ball to those 5-star guys. And if you trust those 5-star guys more than you trust CJ, just let them, drop back, dump it over the top, and let those guys go make a play. So, I mean, I think it's kind of a double-edged sword for CJ. Yes, it's nice having those 5-star guys, but at the same time, it's like, I expect more because you have these 5-star guys. And I understand that.
I get that. I would expect more. Hey, what's popping? Freddie Henderson, Freddie from Sports Empire. Love you, brother. Ty Owens, Chris O'Maro, appreciate y'all in the chat. Michael Robert Lafferty, did y'all see the stat? He's the only wide receiver to have 1,000 plus receiving yards and 0 drops. That's insane. I'm guessing they're talking about Marvin Harrison.
Yeah, they brought it up after he had the drop. Yeah,
I was gonna say very poetic of that to happen, and they say that, and then like 2 plays later, he drops a pass.
And listen, and Bill, can I ask you a question? Do you think my criticism? And what's up, Eric? No love. So what's up, man? How you feeling? Bill, do you feel like that my criticism of CJ Stroud is unfair, unwarranted, or do you feel like that what I'm saying is accurate? Because I feel like I was proven exactly what I said. Like all right, so let me ask you a question. What was the big CJ Stroud game? And if you want to bring up Utah in the Rose Bowl, I guess. But what was the big CJ Stroud game? The big moment, the Michigan, the Clemson, even the Notre Dame or the Penn State. Like he didn't. I don't know, Bill. What do you and I try to be unbiased. I know you're a Michigan.
No, I'm gonna be unbiased, and again, I'm a Michigan guy who is admittedly and honestly a big Justin Fields fan. I honestly think CJ played better last year than he did Saturday. The end of that game, I didn't like his body language. I didn't like his facial, his emotion. He looked frustrated. Cottrell might be onto something a little bit with the play calling. But that being said as well, he took the one shot down the field, which was the one time we brought the safety from that side of the field down on the blitz, and he took the shot right away, which he should do. But other than that, he didn't want to push the ball down the field. He didn't. And I have to assume some of that's probably play calling. But some of it, again, Gene brought up the Clemson game with Justin Fields. Dude went out there with broken ribs and was throwing the ball 60 yards down the middle of the field to wide receivers. That's a generational talent QB. I don't see it with CJ. I'm sorry, I don't. I don't. And I think saying he's the next great, Ohio State guy to come out and putting him in the same sentence with Justin Fields, I think it's horribly disrespectful to Justin Fields. I don't think they're anywhere near the same level in college. You look at it this year, you brought it up. He struggled against Notre Dame. He struggled against Penn State, and he struggled against Michigan. I promise you, week in and week out in the NFL, he's going to see a better defense than all 3 of those. And the talent around him is not going to get much better. And again, being a Michigan fan, is there a better receiver in the country than Marvin Harrison Jr.? I mean, I guess we can argue Jordan Addison and what's the kid's name from Tennessee?
Jalen
Hyatt. But I mean, it's beyond a 5-star thing. I mean, the kid might be the best receiver in the league or in the country. So it's, I don't say it, and I don't mean that. I'm not saying he can't get there because I think he has the physical tools to do it. He's very accurate. He has a good arm. He's nowhere near as mobile as Justin Fields. There was a couple plays in the game Saturday. He easily could have ran and got first downs and kept, Ohio State kept the ball and not have to go 4th down and punt. And he didn't want to run either. I think I don't want to label him a full-on project. I don't think the kid's a lottery pick. I really don't.
I'll say this too, though. I feel like part of it is he came directly behind Justin Fields. I think we all were expecting Justin Fields to go to the league and be, the second. We said he was going to be the second best quarterback in his class, and I think now, even with all the turmoil in Chicago, with him not having weapons, you see him still producing. I don't think we should be comparing CJ to that just because, I don't think anyone said he's going to be that. I understand he's a 5-star kid and that he's the next guy at Ohio State, but I just don't think that's what he's going to be. Just like, we were all expecting DJ to be that second coming, being right behind Trevor Lawrence, and he's not Trevor. So I think keeping that in perspective kind of makes it a little bit different. Like you said, Bill, I think CJ has the tools to be, successful in the system. Granted, he doesn't have that big game behind him. Gene, you mentioned the Rose Bowl. I do think that's a good win for him, but it's not, to our standard here, it's not, no one cared about the Rose Bowl last year. We wanted to be in the college football playoff.
Correct.
So,
and how many kids sat out the Rose Bowl?
Exactly.
Exactly. I don't know. Like, I don't know how many Utah first-round defenders sat out. Like, I don't know how that looks, but the one thing I look at is just, and maybe it's just my eyes, man. You can look at stats all day, but there was a throw that Justin Fields made to Chris Olave in the college football playoff versus Clemson, and it was like off his back foot, across his body on a dime, over the shoulder, and good defender. And the play I'm talking about. It's like you watch that and you're like, man, that's what I want to see. Like, that's incredible. And I don't want to take too much on Ohio State, Michigan. We're on 22 minutes at this point. I want to move on to the rankings and kind of talk a little bit more there. But I'll say this: I don't dislike CJ Stroud as a person. Like, I think he's a good kid.
I don't think he's a bad kid.
Yeah.
But when I look at prospects in the NFL, prospects for the NFL, I'm serious when I tell you this. I think there's 4 or 5 better quarterbacks in college football right now than CJ Stroud. And I think that's tough for, a lot of people to swallow because he's been the consensus number 1, number 2 on so many mock boards, when in reality, I think he's a 2nd or 3rd rounder. And I truly believe that. I think he could eventually be what Jalen Hurts is. Eventually.
No, I agree.
If he works at it.
And I think, and again, that's my assessment. I don't want to call him a project because I don't think he's that. But he's not a bona fide number 1 going to come in and start for your team next year. It's not what he is. I do agree. It's not fair. It's not going to be fair to compare every kid that comes through Ohio State, for the next 20 years to Justin Fields. But that being said, to Gene's point, 5 weeks ago, he was everybody's number 1 quarterback off the board. Up until the Michigan game, he was the Heisman winner. He was the Heisman front runner. So it's it's not these lofty expectations that just all disappear because he lost the Michigan game. Like, it's now a pattern. You look at the good defense he's played against, and he hasn't been dominant. And that's where the great ones separate themselves from the good ones. We talked about it twice. Justin Fields put on an all-time performance against Clemson, who had one of the best defenses in the country that year. And he went out and smoked them. And CJ Stroud went out Saturday and looked very pedestrian.
So I kind of want to move to the college football playoff because I think it translates right to what I'm about to talk about. He's going to have the opportunity probably again. And I don't think he deserves it, but we'll talk about that. But the odds are, right? Like, the odds are in both games. Like, if you, and this is kind of the way I look at the odds. I know it sounds silly, but if I put a 2-game parlay in, USC money line, TCU money line, I'm getting plus money, which means the odds are one of them is probably going to lose.
Yep.
So if one of them loses, does Ohio State deserve that 4th spot? And, I'm interested to hear your perspective. I think I have mine. I'll tell you what, the College Football Playoff Committee is at this point downright laughable. And I say that with the sense that Tennessee's below Bama, Penn State's below both of them when they have a better resume than both of them. I don't understand how that gets? Is it the name recognition of Bama? Like, so like
Absolutely
you
is.
look at Alabama and Tennessee, and I get Hendon Hooker is out and they don't have a quarterback, but when you look at Tennessee's resume and Alabama's resume, Tennessee beat them heads up. Tennessee, the common opponents, LSU, at LSU. Alabama lost to LSU, and then Tennessee beat them by 27 in LSU. They both have a pretty bad loss on their resume. I don't know. I look at it this way. I think Tennessee's loss is worse, but I think their first loss to Georgia is the best loss out of the 4 losses. So I think when you add them up, they have more top 25 wins. And then when you look at Penn State, the only 2 teams they lost to were number 2 and number 5. I don't know, man. I look at that like
I don't see how you can have Bama ahead of Penn State. Tennessee is the weird one because of how their losses are, but they no longer have Hendon Hooker. I think, of course, you want to rate them based off what they did, but I think it's also important to realize, no Hendon Hooker. I don't think you want to see that Tennessee team against like some of the more elite schools. But Penn State losing to Ohio State and Michigan, I think those are the 2, I mean, if you want to say it, 2 best losses of those 2 lost teams up there. And I think they deserve to be higher.
And they were leading in both games.
Correct. I know the final score is in both games. They both ended up being double-digit losses for Penn State. But, I mean, if you watch those games, the final score isn't always indicative of what went on in that game. And I think for Penn State, that was partially the case, In the Ohio State game, it unfolded in the 4th quarter. In the Michigan game, it unfolded in the 3rd quarter. But for their perspective, Penn State was hanging with number 2 and number 5. Tennessee lost to a South Carolina team that's now ranked because they just beat Tennessee and then they beat Clemson. But before that, they weren't even in the discussion of being in the top 25. So I think a lot of it is name recognition. And Gene, we talked about it on the phone before the show. You don't like the term, but I mean it's SEC bias. It's just what it is. When you're in the SEC and you go up against the same schools, Georgia, Alabama, those schools, you get looked at differently than a lot of other schools do. So
I just think the Tennessee thing is weird to me. I mean, if you want to go by, okay, Alabama lost at Tennessee, and then they lost to, LSU. Penn State's, both of their losses are ranked above Alabama. So how you have Alabama in front of Penn State is bewildering to me, other than just the fact we know why they're there. But to Cottrell's point about them like not wanting to move Tennessee, that's the part that is frustrating to me because, we concentrate so much on the top 4, but 5 through 10 matters because these teams are all going to go to, New Year's Day 6 bowls. And, we talked about Hendon Hooker not playing. Like, that has to factor in. Like this, Tennessee's sitting there with 2 losses at number 7. That's great. They're not the team they were 3 weeks ago. They're not. And, for them to, I think, potentially get a better bowl game than Penn State, I think that's crazy. I just, you look at Penn State, what they are now, the Michigan game, I think, was actually pretty lopsided. But the Ohio State game wasn't. I mean, you're talking about 2 turnovers. If they don't happen, and again, you have to give Ohio State credit for making them. But if not, they're winning that game. Midway through the 4th quarter. Like that's a crazy result possibly for either one of them. But again, when your 2 losses are away to the number 2 team, and home to the number 5 team, which was a game until 4 minutes to go. Sorry. I mean, that South Carolina team, you can't talk out both sides of your mouth. You can't see Tennessee is, they don't get bumped down that much because they lost to South Carolina without Hendon Hooker. But okay, but then you can't give them credit for everything they did with Hendon Hooker because he's not playing anymore. He's done. The kid's not playing quarterback for
I don't think we're talking about both sides of our mouth. Hendon Hooker, they weren't winning that game with or without Hendon Hooker.
My point is they're getting a pass because they're saying they went away and lost. South Carolina is the 19th best team in the country. Like that's BS. They're not at all. But they're getting a soft landing on that because Hendon Hooker didn't play. Okay, well that's great, but Hendon Hooker's not going to play a month from now when they play in all these bowl games either. So you got to be consistent with it.
But see, the thing with that though is, I mean, even when Hendon Hooker was playing, they were down 25. He got hurt in the third quarter, and they were getting
agreed.
They were getting.
I don't think anybody's saying that though.
Yeah, like I'm just saying, like they're not getting the full weight of that loss because they're using the excuse that he didn't play, but then they're not using that same excuse when they're ranking him, saying, "Oh well, it doesn't matter going forward that he's not going to play because they're still the 7th best team." They're not the 7th best team in the country without Hendon Hooker. They're not. Just
for fun, can you guys do me a favor? And I want to ask a couple hypothetical questions.
Sure.
If USC wins and TCU loses, who are the 4 playoff teams?
If who wins and
if USC wins and TCU loses,
I think if TCU loses, they're out. I feel like, and I don't even think that's deservedly so, but I just feel like in the committee's eyes, at least what they've showed, a loss to Kansas State as opposed to for Ohio State a loss to Michigan, I feel like they would value that more. And I mean, if we're being honest, it took them being one of the last undefeated teams for them to even get any respect to begin with. So I think the committee is really just looking for a reason to bump TC out, and I don't even think it's deservedly so. As an Ohio State fan, of course, I want to see Ohio State make the playoff, but
I'm asking what you think the committee will do.
Yeah, I think the committee would bump TCU out. We get Georgia, Ohio State first round, and then we get Michigan, USC in the first round.
So I think I think it's going to matter how the game plays out, and I truly mean that. I think I said it the other night. I mean, I was talking to you guys about it. Kansas State getting all the way up to 10 was a sneaky move by whatever Big 12 voices were in that committee room. They go lose a squeaker to Kansas State with them actually making the championship game. I think there's a chance they stay and move down to 4. If they get blown out, then I think you're going to see Ohio State back in. They lose on a walk-off field goal or something in a conference championship game. I don't know how you move them out. When Ohio State got beat on their home field by 20-some points. I don't know how you value that. They at least got to the championship game. Ohio State didn't. And if they lose a close game, I don't know how Ohio State's last impression on this committee was getting boat raced at home. I don't know how you then turn around and put Ohio State back in.
I think we all can agree that
I will say, just real quick, just to rebuttal that point that you made, Bill, the Big Ten is the one, not the one, because the SEC does it too, but Ohio State, you talk about TCU making the conference championship game. Of course, that matters. Ohio State not making the championship game and only having one loss because, they split up in divisions and you got a team like Purdue that's on the other side there. I've seen that point being made a lot on the flip side of it.
But that's not TCU's fault.
No, it's not TCU's fault at all. But to say that I think that goes into the discussion of it conference championships, like all that mattering though, especially if you go out and lose it. If you win, it's a different story.
But to some degree, I think that's an advantage for TCU as well because they don't have divisions this year. So they're literally playing the second best team in the Big 12. I think if TCU
that's tougher for sure.
I think if TCU was playing, the equivalent of Purdue that won, the Big 12 South, and then they lost to them, then I think it's a different story. I really think it depends on how the game plays out. I really do. I think if it's a close game, I don't think they get bumped. I don't.
I think if I'm being honest with you, Cottrell, and I hate being this much of it, I don't want to be rude about it, but I think it benefits Ohio State a ton that the first doesn't play the second in the conference championship. Because then if you lose again, you don't have a shot.
You're out for sure, yeah.
Yeah, so I think that actually benefits Ohio State. And do you really want to replay it, what just happened? Do you think it's going to be different if they play again on a neutral field? I don't. I feel like what you just watched was the better football team won in a football game. And I don't want to I'm not trying to come off and rub any salt into the wound or anything like that. But let's look at it this way, right? If TCU and USC lose, I know. I'm just saying, if they both lose, I still think TCU should make it in over Bama.
Agreed.
I don't think Bama should. I think Bama should be eliminated. I know they're not, but they should be eliminated.
I mean,
here's the problem with this. This is gonna be the Bama like favoritism too. If that scenario happens, I promise you, they're gonna try to get Alabama all the way up to the 3 so they don't have to play Georgia, and that is what's gonna piss everybody off because they're not gonna want to run that game back as the 1-4, and that would borderline be criminal for me.
Gene, I think to again rebuttal your point, we saw like vividly the exact same thing last year. You know, Alabama ran Georgia off the field last year in their game in the regular season, and then they got to the playoff and things changed. So I'm not necessarily saying that I think that that's what would happen in this scenario, but it can happen. Like we've seen it happen.
It's a good rebuttal. I don't necessarily. I get your point. It makes sense. Everybody. A month off, everyone gets healthy. Could be a different game, a little bit more preparation. I get it.
I think part of it too. If Corm was back, I would assume, a month off, Corm will be back and he'll be healthy, ready to play. Michigan may have a different game plan. Maybe they try to keep running the ball. I think there's so many things that can change in a second game after you've already seen a team earlier in the season.
How likely do you think it would be? And this is me being the Gene Georgia fan. Georgia will understand where they're at by the time they play Saturday afternoon. Why not throw the football game? And follow me real quick. Just hear me out. Why is Georgia have to play, like, just say TCU wins and USC loses, or USC wins and TCU loses? One of those two are going to be in the 3. Why not lose to LSU, fall down to the 2 or the 3, play TCU or USC in the first playoff game? Like, I feel like the 1 is being penalized. I know this sounds stupid, right? But I think this year it might be more fair for the 1 to pick their game, the 2 to pick their game. Because like Ohio.
Listen. This is a bad look for like Georgia, like that we're discussing this. They're undefeated. They're undefeated. They're the defending national champions.
You play who's in front of you.
If you're telling me they gotta throw a game because they want to like pick their matchup because like they don't want to play
TCU or Alabama.
They're not gonna play Alabama.
Would you rather play TCU or Ohio State?
And I'll tell you right now, dude, they might want to play Alabama over TCU because I'm telling you, Alabama is overrated, dude. I think they went the floor with Alabama this year.
I get it. Look, I'm
on board with you, Bill. I agree 1,000%, man.
This is wild. And here's the other thing, dude. You're coaching kids at this point on that team that some of them literally don't know what losing is, dude. Like literally don't know what losing is.
Brock Bowers hasn't lost.
Yeah, and you want to go out and throw
championship game. Stop it.
And you want to go out and
not the ones that matter
and throw an SEC championship game.
I'm not saying I would do it if I was them, but I'm just saying like I don't know, man. I just feel like it's unfair.
To your point, Gene, I think there's a way you can do it. I think you could sit. The way to do it, you sit Stetson Bennett and say, we want you healthy for the playoff. You sit Brock Bowers. You sit those top-notch guys. And then you coach the guys that are behind them. But you still try to win the game. And then if you lose, it's like, so be it. But you still play to win the game. I think that'd be the way that you could do it.
And I'm tell you why they're not going to do it.
But they're not going to do that.
I'm going to tell you why they're not going to do it. Because as long as they finish 1, they're not even traveling, bro. They're going to play their game in the Georgia Dome. Yeah. Or Mercedes-Benz, whatever it is. It's going to be a freaking home game for them. There is no way. And then that's the advantage of being the 1 seed. They don't put the 1 seed at a geographical, disadvantage. Yep, they're gonna play a damn home game. They're gonna play the same building they beat the hell out of Oregon in this year. They're not going to travel. They're all going to sleep on campus the night before. Yeah. Like that is about as a normal routine as you can get for them. And USC's got to come all the way across the country.
It's not USC I'm worried about. My point being is I think that they'll beat whoever is in front of them.
Well, as a Georgia fan, Gene, who are you worried about?
If I was Georgia,
Bama,
I would
Ohio
rather play USC or TCU than Bama or Ohio State.
Kacha, I know you're not serious.
That's what Gene just said.
I don't think Georgia had any fear of playing Ohio State after the way they played last week.
Did you not hear what Gene just said? He just said he'd rather see USC or TCU over Ohio State or Bama. That's literally what I said.
That's the truth. I think anybody would say that.
A normal year, I would agree.
Who would you
I
rather
disagree
play,
this year.
Bill?
I think
Ohio
here's
State again, or you want to play TCU?
Me personally, I'll play Ohio State again. I mean, that's a mental thing now.
Here he goes.
What do you mean?
You're not being honest with yourself.
He's not being honest.
I'm not being honest. We just smacked them by 20-some points in their building. We're going to go on the road, or we're going to go to a neutral site with our number one running back coming back, and we're in the same game plan. What's going to change?
It's not asking who do you think wins the game.
I'm telling
to play.
And I'm telling you, we go out and just play the way we want to play. And if Ohio State can't stop us, it's going to be the same result.
Bill,
I don't have a fear of playing you guys right
Ohio
now.
State. I'm asking if Ohio State played TCU on a neutral field, who's better? And I think that you're lying to yourself if you say TCU.
I think that's a way closer game that people want to give it credit for.
That's fair, but all right. We got a lot of college football playoff talk. Let's do our thing. What we do every week, where we have the college football rankings and we like to move teams, right? So Control, why don't you start? I'll go third this time. I don't want to ruin your guys' plans.
I'd swap Penn State and Bama.
It's fair. Bill?
Well, shit.
Can't move Penn State or Bama.
No. I'm trying to think who else is horribly
I feel like
overrated.
you can do the easy one. For your sake.
It's not the easy one.
Gene doesn't want to have that conversation.
No, Bill doesn't want to have that conversation.
I'll have that conversation.
Georgia's better than Michigan, bro.
Are they deserving of the 1 seed?
Of course they are.
Oh, I know. I mean, yeah, coming from a Georgia fan, of course you're going to say that. I will move. God, some of these teams are going to be ranked.
You can go anywhere. You can go anywhere with it.
Got a lot of show left, Bill. Any day now.
Yeah.
I'll flip-flop Utah and Clemson.
Okay, so then that makes it easier for me. I'll swap Washington and Kansas State. I think
Fair.
Washington's playing great football.
They're playing well at the right time, I'll tell you that much. It's a shame they pissed that game away earlier in the year, because if not, they'd be playing USC.
I love that Oregon 16. All the Oregon love after I'm like telling everybody they're frauds. They're frauds. 16. Thank you.
You don't want to drop too far, man. That's like almost your best win.
Bro, I don't care about we're not Georgia's won. What are we talking about?
Look, Gene gets so defensive of his Bulldogs. I love it.
do. Go Dogs. All right.
Oh my God.
Guys, NCAA pick 'em. Let's get into it.
There's a whopping 9 games to pick this week.
Yo, so we can't do a super dog.
Yeah, we can. What you mean?
We can.
Well, you gotta pick one.
Okay. We'll all do one of the 3 super dogs. So Cottrell's now has the best statistical record. So Cottrell, what's the order?
We're gonna go top to bottom. Well, bottom to top, I guess. Gene, Bill, me.
I'm not bottom, bro. I
mean like on our right row here.
All right.
You're the bottom box.
Just making it very clear. I'm ahead.
Not percentage wise. But
percentage wise, I'm ahead of Bill.
Oh,
you're ahead of me. You're ahead of me.
Yeah.
All right, so I got all dogs this week. Give me dog after dog after dog. Give me Coastal plus 8.5 over Troy. Kansas State plus 2.5 over TCU. I'm going to keep ringing that bell until it rings for me. And then give me UNC plus 7.5 over Clemson. For my super dog, I don't know. Give me LSU plus 18.5 over Georgia. That's my picks this week. I guess I'll go there.
All right. I mean, well, this will be fun then because I'm going head to head with Gene on 2 of these, so this will pretty much decide it this week. So that's kind of fun. I don't think the bell's going to ring. I don't. I thought that. I would say I thought that probably 3 or 4 weeks ago. In the last 2 weeks, they've played great. They dismantled Iowa State. I know not a great team, but I think maybe they got past the point of losing a close game that maybe they shouldn't. They've looked dominant the last 2 weeks. Taking TCU minus 2.5. I'm taking the North Carolina Clemson game as well. I'm taking Clemson minus 7.5, 7, 8. It's all over the place. North Carolina, I mean, as bad as Clemson's defense has been, North Carolina is just still struggling to really stop anybody with any consistency. I think Will Shipley will have a big game. I think Clemson will rebound enough to win that game and win the ACC and salvage the season for Dabo. And my third game, I'm taking North Texas plus 8.5 against UTSA in the Conference USA Championship game. They just played a couple weeks ago. UTSA won at home by 3. I'll take the 8.5 on a neutral site. I'm also taking LSU as my super dog plus 18.5 versus Georgia. I don't know. I could see Georgia winning by 30, but that's the only one I really have any confidence in out of the super dog eligible picks.
You didn't want to go with Purdue?
No, I'm not touching that game.
Okay.
All right. Starting off, I'll touch that game. I think Michigan rolls them in that game. We saw what Michigan did last year in the Big Ten championship game against the much inferior opponent from the other side. Give me Michigan minus 16.5. I think they absolutely roll in that one. Gene, I'm with you on this one. I'm with Kansas State. I think Kansas State, they win that game plus 2.5. It took TCU scoring 28 unanswered for them to win that game earlier this season. I think Kansas State has truly been thinking about that game, since it happened, and they've had their eyes set on this matchup. And I think they ultimately go out and win that game. And then on the flip side of it, Bill, I'm with you on this one. I got Clemson minus 7.5 at North Carolina. At this point, I don't think North Carolina really has anything left to play for. Obviously, it's a pride thing, but North Carolina really ruined their season for all intents and purposes a couple weeks ago, losing to Georgia Tech. And then my super dog, I'm rolling with both of you. I got LSU plus 18.5 just because that's the best one available. So my picks for the week.
All 3 of them stink.
They do.
So this really boils down to the Texas or the TCU Kansas State game then.
Why did I not take the under in the Army Navy game?
It's probably at 13.
It's 33. It's went under.
It is not this week. They wait
41 straight times or something.
It's next week.
They wait till next week.
Okay,
they're the only game in town.
So that's why they do it. So that game is really going to decide who wins pick'em.
No, Cottrell won pick'em. Oh, with the super dog, you're talking about without it. I get it.
Yeah.
Well, you gotta make up 3 games, bro. I don't think you have a shot.
He goes 3-0, and
yeah,
no, 1 and 2. You have to go 1 and 2 for the percentages to. But pick'em's not over. We still do our bowl championship, and what I would do is you could kind of start with the points. Say we grade them, whoever won pick'em gets 5 points, whoever was second gets 3, and whoever was third gets 1, and that's how many points you start with for the bowl pick'em.
We can do it that way. We did it separately last year though. When we got through conference championship week, that's when we ended it.
Fair.
So
I don't know, bro. We're always evolving. We're such a great show. We evolve.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely gonna do something for the bowl things. I think it's time for us to do another contest. To be quite honest,
I'm with it. Want to give something away?
I think we should.
All right, we'll give something away. We got someone working on something that might be giveaway. Who knows?
Little teaser.
NFL, we got some really good games this week, but I want to kind of do a little hot stove talking about what happened last week, kind of getting your opinion on some stuff. I posted this earlier, and I think it's laughable, but I kind of wanted your opinion. Give me your top 3 power rankings in the NFL. I don't care about the 5. We're not doing 5. We do top 3.
In
I'll
order?
go
Yeah, in order. We're not going to give me 3 teams. 3, 2, 1.
3, 2, 1. So I'll go Bills, Chiefs, Eagles.
Okay. Yeah, control.
I will go. That's so tough. I would go 49ers, Eagles, Chiefs.
Okay. I'll go Chiefs, Bills, Eagles. But I have the Eagles 1, right? And I'm not like trying to be smart ass when I say this, but I sent you guys a graphic earlier with Stephen A. Smith putting out his power rankings, Stephen A.'s A list. And he had the Eagles 5. And I just don't know what in the world you're watching. They're 10-1. Like, oh, they only beat Green Bay by 7 at home, and they finished the game with the ball. It wasn't like we held them out of the end zone at the last second. Like, that's not what happened. We finished the game with the football. We were up 14. They scored to make it within 7. They didn't touch the ball. Like, what are we talking about?
No, I mean, listen, I think people are hesitant to put them there because everybody still wants to give Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen and all them all their love and say they played a more difficult schedule and blah, blah, blah. But, I mean, if you've watched any NFL game over the last month, there's been upsets every single week. And, the term any given Sunday is a term for a reason because it's true. Listen, the team's 10-1. They have talent all over the field. At some point, you just have to give them their due. You have to give them their credit. That's not me being a homer. It's nothing like that. You want to put them second. That's fine. Any credible list, they're no lower than 2. They're no lower than 2 on anybody's list that's credible and knows what they're watching when they watch the game of football.
And if you're taking it a step further, why? Do you know the Chiefs lost to the Colts, right? Talking about the Eagles. Yeah. Didn't play the Colts very well. They barely won. The Chiefs lost to the Colts.
And the Colts stink.
I just don't – I can't understand.
I wouldn't say – that wouldn't be my reason for the Chiefs or the Eagles not being there. I mean, for me, I think it just comes down to at the end of the day, I think that Patrick Mahomes is on another level right now, and that's why I have them as high as I do. I think they could – not saying that the Eagles can't, but I truly think the Chiefs can go into any game and win just because they have Patrick Mahomes at the helm. So that was why I have them at 1, but I think the Eagles are right there because they're playing great football. I easily could have switched the 2, but I'm not – it's not a specific game why the Eagles aren't my number 1. Yeah. I just believe in Patrick Mahomes more than I believe in any other team in the league.
I just feel like this, right? And I think that people don't realize that football is completely one. Bro, would you guys admit that I probably watch more NFL football than anybody you've ever met in your life? I'm serious. I'm not like I have the all 22. I watch every 30-minute game afterwards. I watch Red Zone for 7 hours commercial free. I don't miss anything. I have 2 TVs in my living room so I can watch the Eagles full game and still have the Red Zone on. And then I watch all 22. I watch the Sunday night game, the Thursday night game, the Monday. Would you probably admit that? Come on, guys. You watch more college football. Does anybody watch more NFL than me?
I don't think I can name it off the top of my head.
So, football is won and lost in the trenches. It's won and lost with the offensive line. Yes, you have to have a good quarterback, 100%. But, an offensive line makes a good quarterback a great quarterback. It makes a great quarterback a legendary quarterback. It makes a bad quarterback look good. Okay? The Eagles have an offensive line, and as long as that offensive line is together, what are we talking about? Jason Kelsey, Lane Johnson, Landon Dickerson, Jordan Mailata, they've been absolutely blowing teams off the ball. They ran for 300 yards Monday night. It's the offensive line. And Jordan Davis is back this week. Avonte Maddox is back next week. Dallas Goedert's back next week. Yes, they have a couple injuries. I think that the CJ GJ one is going to hurt more than a lot of people think. But I don't think that run defense suffers that much when Big Jordan Davis is back in there. You've seen the way they looked against the run the first 7 games of the season when he played. He's a massive body that commands a double team every time, that stops the interior run. The Eagles have been struggling with the interior run without Jordan Davis on first and second down. That changes when you put his big ass back in the game. I don't know.
Perfect.
It's just frustrating to me.
Perfect week for it, too.
Derrick Henry comes to town this week. All right, so question number 2. Give me your top 3 MVP candidates.
Mahomes, Hurts.
Mahomes 1. You're going 1, 2, 3? Or are you going 3, 2, 1? Okay.
I'm going 1, 2, and I don't think it's unrealistic to say Jalen Hurts can win it either. I think it's close. Number 3. For giggles, I'll go Burrow.
I think that you're so I can't wait to get into mine. Go ahead, Control.
Mahomes and Hurts 1 and 2, and I would go probably. I mean, Tua. I think he would be that third guy as of now.
Okay. Well, I love that you guys let the door open to me, because I think the entire NFL has been complaining that the MVP has just become the greatest quarterback award. Mahomes is 1. Hurts is 2. Third's Micah Parsons. I don't care if he's just a defensive player. The effect that he has on a football game, guys, we all seen the list. The top 25, under 25 that was put out. Micah Parsons, unanimous number 1, 23 years old. He's going to win Defensive Player of the Year. He's an absolute game wrecker. And I think the part that really helps us Eagles fans is that Lane Johnson held him in check for a whole half of football. He left with a concussion, didn't come back. Micah went nuts in the second half. But I think that the Eagles actually have the one offensive line that somewhat neutralizes this man. But every other team in the league, he's been absolutely destroying. I knew that they were going to destroy the Minnesota Vikings. I called that on the show. It was going to be a blowout. I said because I knew that no one on that Minnesota offensive line was going to be able to slow Micah Parsons down. And as soon as Kirk Cousins gets happy feet, he goes, I don't know what to do. Throws the ball away.
I think if you're going non-QB, I think Justin Jefferson would be another person that's in that conversation right now, especially if he could find a way to eclipse the 2,000-yard mark for the season. I think he's going to be a guy that's right there in the thick of it as well.
I completely agree with you. He'd be my 4. When we say most valuable player, I don't think of Tua. Bro, I'm a hater. Whatever you want to say. I look at him as an average quarterback in a great system with 2 elite wide receivers. I don't think of him as a most valuable player. I don't even think he's the most valuable player on his offense.
I don't disagree with you, but at the same time, but
it's your list. It's your list, not what you think's going to happen. I'm asking your list.
No, but I think we value MVP differently than what it should be viewed as. Most valuable player isn't truly who is the most valuable player to their team this season. It's usually who puts up the best numbers. And right now, I think Tua has those numbers.
Better than most of these pundits and most of these people that are out there talking bullshit. That's why people listen to us. We give real opinions. I'm asking who the 3 most. And listen, the reason I say Patrick Mahomes won over anybody is he lost his number 1 wide receiver. And was just like, oh, no problem. I'll still lead the league in touchdowns. I'll still lead the league in yardage with Marquez Valdez-Scantling and Juju Smith-Schuster and Kadarius Toney.
Yeah, no,
Yes, he has Travis Kelce, elite weapon. But what he's done with the wide receiver position,
and who's who at running back? Like the Chiefs don't have like a true running game. Like he just puts it on his back and says, "Let's roll."
that is the definition of a player that can get a $40 million contract. Because you don't need to pay wide receivers ridiculous money. You don't need to pay running backs ridiculous money when you have Patrick Mahomes. That's how good he is.
Yep.
That's why I asked for your MVP. I don't care what the public thinks. I don't care what the betting odds are. If you remove this player, and I think it goes Mahomes, Hurts, Micah Parsons. And Jennings would be 4.
In that scenario, I would have Justin Jefferson ahead of Tua, but I respect his numbers that he's put up so far this season. Although I'm 100% on board, he's a system QB.
Okay. All right. So next topic, the top 25 under 25. Do you agree with 1 through 3? It was, and this is where it got a little bit. I'm going to pull up the list real quick. Top 25 under 25. But the 1, 2, 3 were Micah Parsons, Jay Jettas, Jamar Chase.
Yes.
Yeah, that really wasn't my gripe with the list. I think there was other things further down the list that I thought were ridiculous, but it's. I mean, I would understand the arguments if somebody would have them have either one of them above Micah, but I mean, I really don't have some huge gripe or vendetta against him being number 1.
I have a few gripes with the list. DK Metcalf, in what world is ahead of Jalen Waddle? That drove me nuts. In what world is DK Metcalf ahead of Jalen Waddle? In who's taller? No way. I think that that was my biggest gripe with the list. I think that I like a lot of it. I think Trevor Lawrence should have been on the list, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of them. I don't understand how he's not.
Like, if you want to say you're going on potential to put Kyle Pitts on the list, Trevor Lawrence should be ahead of Kyle Pitts.
Agreed.
Am I wrong there?
You said going off of potential?
Yeah, like, because that's what they're doing with Kyle Pitts. He's been terrible this year.
I mean, he has, but he also has a quarterback that doesn't throw the ball, you know.
And Urban Meyer was a coach that was awful for Trevor Lawrence. And you see what happens when you put him in a system that is friendly to the quarterback. How good did he look on that drive? Did you watch that drive?
Yeah, of course. But I think if they're going off of, you know, percentage wise, you know, who's more likely to be an all-pro next year, or who's more likely to eventually be like a Hall of Famer, I think at Pitt's position, you know, he has all the talent in the world to be one of the top tight ends in the sport. Not saying that Trevor Lawrence doesn't have that ability to be the top quarterback, but there's so many top guys at QB. Like if Trevor Lawrence was throwing the ball to Kyle Pitts,
do that. Tight ends is such a rare position. There's only a few good tight ends. That's like saying, oh, okay, exactly. Like Cade York has the ability to be the best kicker in the league, so he should be ahead of Trevor Lawrence.
No, it's not the same thing.
The positions mean so much different.
They do.
Quarterback.
They do, absolutely. But if you got a guy like, you know, a George Kittle or a Travis Kelce, and I'm not saying Trevor Lawrence is this comparison, but comparing that to a guy like, you know, Tua or Dak, like those top 15 guys, you know, at a point, depending on the numbers, fringe top 10 guys, but it's an elite tight end. Like it matters how you value that.
What's up, Key in the building? And what's up, Godfrey? And then the last,
Tua is a perfect example. Tua is ranked 10th on this list, and he's ranked ahead of a bunch of people. I don't think he has any business being in front of him.
All I did was I look at positions, right? I look at position. So like I can't argue what your value is of the position. Like the biggest gripe I had with the list was Waddle and Metcalf. My second biggest one is Trevon Diggs being ahead of friggin' AJ Terrell. If you guys aren't watching AJ Terrell play football, you're not watching this kid play football in Atlanta. He's unbelievable.
I think Diggs has had a much better season this year
100%.
than he did last year. And I mean, that's fine to say that, but I do think Diggs had a lot of hate from obviously he had so many interceptions. National media loved him. You know, he was this all pro caliber corner, all this stuff. He's played a lot better this year. The numbers
100%.
aren't there. So I
Yes.
want to give him his credit. But
You can't have him ahead of AJ Terrell.
I get
and
it.
yes, Hurts is number
I get it.
9, RJ. RJ asked if Hurts is on the list. He's number 9.
Yep.
Which I think might be a little high at this point. I love Hurts. I have fallen in love with that kid, and I'm okay with the contract he's about to receive because I've seen how hard he's worked, how much he's progressed. If you look at the leap this kid took from year 2 to year 3, if he continues on that trajectory, that contract will pay its weight.
When you say the contract he's about to get, what's that number that's like,
it's going to be 50
this will be too much?
It's going to be 50 million.
That'll be the end of this team.
He's going to get 50 million.
That's a mistake.
You can't let him. You can't let him walk. But at the same time, that's a lot of money. I get the cap's going up, but at a point, he's still going to be one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the league. And
if you can't let him walk. That's what he's going to get.
No, agreed. You can't let him walk.
What's he going to get?
I don't.
I
think that the amount of teams that would hand him a $50 million a year guaranteed contract are super small.
No, guaranteed.
All right, but he's young. But if he's keep playing, he's every year. Okay, so he's what, 24 now?
Yes,
maybe not even. All right, so you got to figure the next 6 years he's healthy and he's playing. That's $300 million. No,
you got to also think too. Like he's 10-1 right now. Who knows where the season ends up? You know, if he makes it NFC Championship game or beyond, there is no shot in hell that you let him walk for nothing. Essentially, he's got to, Howie's got to go up to that meeting with a blank check. Like you have to really give him whatever he asked for, and as long as nothing ridiculous.
And you have to sign him before Burrow, and you have to sign him before Herbert. You have to.
Yep.
Because
absolutely,
the last one is going to get the highest contract.
Yep. Burrow's going to get something ridiculous. Because he's going to,
and he deserves it. Burrow deserves more money than Hurts.
Agreed.
Because Burrow, without an offensive line, went to the Super Bowl getting sacked 7 times a game on average.
And I bet you Burrow also takes less than 50 a year because he realizes what else is on that team that needs to be signed.
I think Jalen will take less than 50 too.
I think Burrow is a smart man. He's going to say, look, we've been drafting well. Give me my money. Take care of me. Take care of Jamar. We'll figure out how to make it roll, just like how Pat Mahomes was.
Listen, I think that Jalen Burrow will take team-friendly deals. I don't think they're going to be too team-friendly. I think they're going to be still record-breaking deal.
47.
Yeah, 46, 47, yeah. But allow them to use it in bonus money like Dak did, convert it, because essentially you can cheat the cap if you're you can become baseball. Football is becoming baseball. You can completely cheat the cap by turning it into bonus money.
Guaranteed the signing bonus, yeah.
So, essentially, it's not going to come off the cap. It's just Jeffrey Lurie spending his money. I don't really give a shit about Jeffrey Lurie spending his money. The team's worth a lot of money. We're good. We're okay. It is. Am I lying?
No.
We're good.
You're right.
Let me ask you a question. Would you rather pay Hurts 46, 47, 48 million, or would you rather be stuck with that Russell Wilson contract?
But I don't think that's
that's not the alternative.
I think the alternative would be, do you pay Jalen Hurts $47 million, or do you draft a quarterback in 2 years?
You can't keep going through that.
And I don't think you want to do that. So
no, you can't go through that. Then you turn into some of these teams that can never get it right. But
I guess we'll see what happens if a team that pays a quarterback over $40 million ever wins a Super Bowl.
I just don't know. And Gene, to your point, and Jalen Hurts is playing incredible. I don't want to take anything away from him. I just don't know how well it's going to work out paying a quarterback close to $50 million. That's not a top 5 quarterback in the league. And I'm not saying Jalen can't get there, but I just don't know how well that's going to work out. But I do also think you have to do it. So it's stuck, between a rock and a hard place with that one.
All right, so there's a couple really big games this week. Real big games this week. You got the Eagles-Titans, 7-4 versus 10-1. You got the Dolphins versus the 49ers. It's a heck of a football game now. It's probably the game of the week. A lot of people are saying it could be a Super Bowl preview.
San Fran, maybe.
Dude, I want to see what Tua does in cold weather. Not gonna see it this week.
Yeah.
But you'll see him at Buffalo. I can't wait to watch that football game. But you got the Jets Vikings. How about Mike White? You got the
picked them up in fantasy.
Hey. But before we talk about some of those games, we got to talk about the return of Deshaun Watson coming off of suspension at Houston.
It's ironic, isn't it?
What?
It's pretty ironic. That's the way it worked out.
I think that the NFL really missed the boat here. If you're gonna have him come back week 11 or 12 versus Houston, given that 11-game suspension, so he comes back at Houston, why have it be a 1:00 game?
Exactly.
It doesn't make sense, right? If it's pretty planned, like CJ just put, why have it be in the middle of the biggest slot of games?
That's why.
Well, then why make it planned? Why not wait, get a 12-game suspension, have him come back next week?
Well, I mean, they wanted to suspend him for the year. So, I mean, I don't think that part was playing. That's just ultimately what they ended up, compromising on. They didn't want him to play football this year. They didn't want to deal with this media circus at all this year. I think they put him at 1:00 because it's a larger slate and it's going to mix in more. You put him at 4:00, there's only 3 or 4 games on nationally. That's going to have to make one of it. And they're sure as hell not going to put him on prime time. So,
listen, I think the NFL is all about making money. You say what you want about their ethics, about them wanting to brush us under the rug. I think had they really, I think the issue here is the Texans being as bad as they are and the Browns being as bad as they are, although they coming off a good win last week. Them being 4-7 and the Texans pretty much being in line for the first overall pick. I think that's the only reason this game didn't get flexed. If the Texans had 5 wins and the Browns were 6-5, I think 100% chance this game is moved into the not necessarily a primetime slot, but it's at least a 4:25 game. I don't think the NFL cares too much about the optics of this or not. At the end of the day, he got a suspension. That's over with. Now the NFL is like, all right, let's get our money again. So I think it's just because the teams are bad right now. The game didn't get moved.
They're getting their money regardless. I disagree with you on that. I don't think they're looking forward to this at all because it's going to be, you're going to have a lot of eyes on a for lack of a better terms, a bad football game. Like I said, they didn't want him to play this year. They wanted this to go away 100% for the year, and they deal with it in the off season, and then bring him back next year. So
if they didn't want him to play, they didn't have to settle. They could have just had the arbitrator come in and finish it off and say he gets the year.
It was going to be a mess. I don't disagree with that part of it, but it was that. Then you're going to court and every other goddamn thing in the world, which is I don't think they wanted to do either. So, it's going to be interesting. I think it's crazy, that he's going to go back there and that's going to be his first game, and it's going to be a very interesting environment. I'll be very curious to see how that goes.
CJ, I agree, and I agree mostly. I think that what he did is reprehensible. I think it's more and more obvious that what he did was reprehensible. I think that there's a lot of people that are working in meaningful places in this world that have done reprehensible things. Ray Lewis killed a guy who played football again. So let's not pretend that the NFL's morals are any bit good. But what game are you looking for most this week? Yes, his accusers are going to be in attendance, which I think is a great idea for them. Face them. I love that.
Agreed.
I think it's awesome that they're putting him in a suite. I think that's great. Fly every one of them out there. Every one of them. It's fair, CJ. But no, what game are you looking forward to most? Is it New England Buffalo on Thursday night? Because that's a treat. That's a good one.
It's a good one. I just hate Thursday.
San Fran, Miami? That's got to be, right?
It's San Fran, Miami for me. I want to see what Miami really is. San Fran coming off a shutout. Gene has them in the Super Bowl, and I think the more it plays out, I think if the Eagles want to get there, they're going to have to beat some combination of, Dallas, Minnesota, and San Fran. They're going to have to beat 2 of them probably. So San
No
Fran's
way
a
I
really
get the Super Bowl right. No way.
I'm going with
they're a good football team.
I'm going with Chiefs at Bengals. Jamar Chase should return this. Jamar Chase should return this week. Obviously, they got the bad blood from last year with the Bengals beating them in the playoffs. I think that'll be a fun one. A lot of emotions mixed in that one. Eli Apple, granted Tyreek Hill's not there. I'm sure Eli Apple does not like any of those Chiefs receivers, tight ends, anybody. So that'll be a fun one. Get all the emotions in there.
I got news for you. Bengals win again. Telling you, Bengals win again.
Plus 2.5.
It's not one of my picks. I'm not bold enough to say that. Bengals win that football game again. Joe Cool is just too good right now, man. I feel like that the game being in Cincinnati helps a ton. Jamar Chase coming back helps a ton. I feel like that Joe Burrow is going to shred that defense. Joe Burrow is just too good right now.
I mean, to an extent. I mean, I think he had a very fortunate run of games that Jamar Chase didn't play. Didn't face any good defenses that trip. And he put up 20 points. It wasn't like he, showed out or anything like that.
Without Jamar Chase
but
at Tennessee.
I guarantee you 20 points doesn't win your game against the Chiefs.
At home with Jamar Chase, it might. Joe Mixon's going to play.
Not 20
Jamar
points.
Chase is gonna play.
20 points.
T. Higgins,
20 points will
Tyler
not win you
Boyd.
that game.
Okay. I'm looking forward to this weekend in the NFL. I really am. I'm looking forward to this NFL week because there's so many really good football games. Let's get into NFL Pick'em. Yuck. I'm 500 and I'm in first place. That's terrible. I've had a really bad season in NFL.
Bill had a good week last week. 2-1.
Yeah. Here we go.
Bill's on the come up.
I'll make the late season push. Guys are going to stop fading me. They'll stop fading me soon.
Stop fading them. All right, Bill, starts off.
We already talked about this game a little bit earlier. Tennessee at Philadelphia -5.5. I'm going to take the Eagles to cover. One of the big reasons why is the big man that's coming back. Gene already mentioned him, Jordan Davis, the man-child. He's going to be back in the middle of that line, help them, stop the run the ball. And that's where the Eagles struggle. They struggle with stopping the run between the tackles. I think he helps with that greatly. Jordan Davis coming back is going to be huge. Obviously, Derrick Henry coming to town. It's going to be a really good test right off the bat. But I think the Eagles are going to be able to win a lot on first down when they have the ball offensively. It was amazing to see last week where the run was working and they didn't outthink themselves and they didn't try to get too cute and they just kept running the football. I think you're going to see more of that again this week. I think the Eagles cover. Then they win the game something like 30-21, somewhere around there. Second game I'm going to pick. We just talked about this game as well. I think it's going to be a shit show. I'm a little hesitant about this pick. I'm curious to see how he's going to look. But I'm going to take Cleveland -7 at Houston, mainly because I think Houston is just dreadful. I think Cleveland coming off a big win last week at home against Tampa Bay. I think they rally around that. We'll see how well and how strongly they are behind Deshaun Watson. But I think Cleveland goes to Houston and gets it done. And the last pick I'm going to pick, I'm taking Detroit +1.5 at home against Jacksonville. I think Jacksonville looked great those last 2 drives of the week. Detroit's a team that's just there every game that's close. They could have beat Buffalo on Thanksgiving. They found a way to lose that game. We were talking about in the chat, and Detroit just started doing Detroit things. So I think they eke one out at home against Jacksonville. I'll take the point. I'll take the 1.5 though. But I think Detroit wins outright. So I'll take Detroit +1.5.
If I'm not kidding when I say this, and I could be completely wrong, but if I was leaning on all 3 of those games, I'd lean the other way on all 3. And I think the Eagles one scares me the most because it's AJ Brown revenge game versus Tennessee. And I think the problem is the Eagles are going to try to force feed the ball to AJ Brown when they should be doing exactly what Bill just said. So I think they have to not get in that mentality that we need to get A.J. Brown revenge. He got his revenge. He's on a 10-1 team. He's catching touchdown passes all year. Just run the ball and win the football game. That's the revenge you need. Cottrell?
Well, Bill picks the Eagles like every other week to cover, so he's got to roll with them. But I feel it though. I feel it. My first game, I see the game going similar to the Browns Texans game, but I'm not picking the Browns to cover. I like the over 46.5 in that one. I think, Cleveland has struggled defensively. I think Damian Pierce will find ways to be successful against that Browns defense. I think the Texans can score 20 points in that one, but I do think the Browns are ultimately going to win that game. I think that's going to end up being a 31-20 kind of game. I think the over 46.5 is a solid play in that one. I like the under in Miami at San Francisco, under 46.5. I think that San Francisco 49ers team will find ways to somewhat slow down the Dolphins' high-powered offense. Yes, Tyreek Hill is going to be successful. Yes, Jalen Waddle is going to be successful. But I think they're going to find ways to have those, touchdowns turn into field goals instead, and I think that's going to be a lower-scoring game. And then my last game, I like the Colts plus 10.5 at the Cowboys. I think that's a lot of points for the Cowboys to cover. I think the Colts defense is, as much as they have struggled so far this season, I think they'll be good enough to keep that game within a one score game. And I think the Colts cover, but I got the Cowboys winning. So those are my three for the week.
I going right against you, so we'll find out who's ahead. I'll start with mine. I think that the Dallas Cowboys dominate the Indianapolis Colts. I'm fading Jeff Saturday every opportunity I get. I did it on Monday night. I had the Steelers plus 2.5. Wasn't one of my picks, but I picked it on FanDuel. I love the game. I took the Steelers outright. I'm fading Jeff Saturday. He's not an NFL head coach. He's going to play Dallas, and Dallas is going to kick their ass. Matt Ryan is a statue in that pocket. Micah Parsons is going to get after him. You load up to stop the run. That pass game that Indianapolis has is pathetic. Give me the Cowboys minus 11. 10.5. You got 10.5. I'll take 10.5. Give me Seattle minus 7.5 over the Rams. The Rams are packing it in for the season. They're done. Aaron Donald's going to miss his first game ever. Matt Stafford, I don't know if he's coming back. We could be using a fifth string quarterback now. Cooper Kupp's out. I like Seattle in this one. Geno Smith, they wrote me off. I didn't write back. Last one, a little funny spread, right? A little funny spread. I'll take the Commanders minus 2.5 at New York. Yeah, I said it right. The Commanders minus 2.5 at the Giants. Spread's funny. It's fishy. I think the Giants are falling apart. I think the Commanders are on a roll. I said this weeks ago. The Giants could lose out. Like, they really could. Their schedule, I don't think they're as good as their record was. I think they were doing it with smoke and mirrors and a good head coach. So give me the Commanders minus 2.5. That's my picks. Let's get in Mount Rushmore, man. I've been so hyped for this Mount Rushmore bracket. Guys, if you're not, Boston, Philly, Baltimore, New York. It went chalk on the left side. Dable's not the coach of the year, RJ. Stop it.
I mean, after 6 games, he might have been, but not now.
And by the way, another game that's sneakily that I really want to watch, and it sucks because they're all done during the Eagles game, but I'll watch them on the All 22, is the Lions Jaguars. That's gonna be a fun game to watch. I love watching the progression of what Trevor Lawrence is doing and Doug Peterson's doing with that. Travis Etienne went out in the first quarter last week.
Yep.
That last drive versus Baltimore looked great. But,
and they still almost lost the game. Justin Tucker almost hit a 67-yarder. That man is insane.
It was about 4 or 5 yards short, though, if you looked at it.
It was.
I mean, but
close off the leg. Off the leg, we were all like, oh, did he do it again? But
I mean,
yeah.
Justin Tucker is still – you were more – I bet, 67 yards as far as it was. I feel like I was more surprised that he missed it than I should have been, I was fully expecting him to make it.
I don't know how you'd bet it. I would bet he missed it, but it wouldn't. The odds for anybody else kicking it would be like 4%, For Justin Tucker, it was like 30.
50. I feel like it was like 50-50. It was like maybe you can make it, maybe you can miss it.
All right, this Mount Rushmore bracket is fire. I looked at these prior. I think we have 3 easy matchups.
Agreed.
I think one's going to be tough. Let's pull it up. We got to do the West region. And then next week's going to be some fun ones. All right, so it's funny because I think the best, I've said this about 4 Mount Rushmores. I don't know. Like when this comes down to the nitty gritty, I think San Fran's probably got the best Mount Rushmore. They like Joe Montana, Jerry Rice, Willie Mays, Steph Curry. Like that's absurd. You have arguably the second greatest quarterback ever, the greatest running back ever, the greatest all-around baseball player ever, and the greatest shooter we've ever seen. Could be the greatest point guard ever.
A lot of greatness. Lots and lots of greatness.
Listen, nothing against St. Louis, right? But like this is, and listen, yeah, Bill, give St. Louis their due, but this is a layup.
I don't need to do that. Listen, I mean, there's a lot of people on, St. Louis that I like. Stan Musial, obviously, was actually a big Brett Hull fan growing up. Everybody loves Albert Pujols, and I really do wish I got to watch Bob Gibson pitch, but this isn't something to get too excited about here.
I don't know when San Fran sees a real opponent. It's got to be the Final Four when they go against one of. Well, we'll see. I don't want to give anything away, but San Fran is just like that. That San Fran Mount Rushmore. Like, how do we? Oh man, we're letting the listeners pick from Final Four on. We'll give our picks, but we're giving the listeners the ability to vote on this one, and it's. I don't care who comes out on top. There's 4 Mount Rushmores, maybe 5. And we'll get into 3 of them today that are just silly. This is a sweep, though, right, Cottrell?
Yep, San Fran. Moving on.
All right, let's go next round. This is the matchup of the week, right? This is the matchup of the week. You got Minnesota versus Kansas City. It's a good matchup. I think I know where I'm going. I think that the greatness in the Minnesota side is just a little better than it is on Kansas City side. I think that's my pick. I think I'm going to go there, but let me listen to you guys. Maybe one of you guys will make an argument to sway me. I don't know, but I think Minnesota has just got more greatness.
Yeah, I mean, this one's tough. I mean, I'm looking at them now and I'm trying to figure out who the weakest of the 8 is.
That's easy.
Yeah. So it's, and that's kind of where I'm at. I mean, Tony Gonzalez is, arguably the best tight end ever. Moss is probably the best wide receiver ever, arguably anyway. AP is nothing worse than a top 3 or 4 running back. George Brett is a great player. Loved him. He's not a top 5 player of all time. Maya Moore, her accolades speak for themselves, and she didn't even play as long as she could have. And she's in that conversation for best female basketball player of all time. Derek Thomas is kind of a wild card because as great as he was, his life tragically got cut short. So I don't know what you project him out to be. And then obviously you have Len Dawson, who was a great quarterback in his own right, but I mean, he's the weakest link here. So I would vote for Minnesota.
And I'm also voting for Minnesota here. Minnesota, I think this of the 4 matchups that we see today, this was obviously the toughest one, but I think if this was a 7-game series, I think I would have Minnesota in 5 in this one. It just happens that all the other ones are sweeps.
I agree. Minnesota's better here. But it's like funny because like Minnesota's going to get destroyed next round.
Yeah, Minnesota's got a good Rushmore, but they got some juggernauts they got to see on that West Coast side.
Oh man,
I would say Minnesota definitely has a great Rushmore for like a smaller market too. That's a really strong group of 4 for not a Minnesota doesn't even have all 4. Actually maybe they do.
LA1 is like a basketball, like, oh man, LA1 is absurd. Kobe, Kareem, Magic, and then you got Sandy Koufax, the greatest left-handed pitcher ever.
Yeah, that's all.
Like, what a stud Mount Rushmore for LA1 here. And the fact that LA1 is a friggin' 3 seed is absurd.
Yep.
It's absurd. It's absurd.
It is.
It's crazy
Man.
it's crazy that LA2 is better than LA1.
I don't know.
Hey, we'll find out. We'll find out. Yep.
Find out soon.
I don't know. LA1 and LA2 is just we'll get into it. Houston, let's tip your cap. Good run.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Appreciate you showing up.
Yeah. That's really it, It's like the Houston is essentially like the Minnesota Timberwolves of this bracket here, Nice play-in run, you get to the actual playoffs and that's it.
Just get hammered by LA.
But you got to treat that playing game like it was your championship, So Houston, great job.
On the table.
Exactly, Houston,
it's like winning
the table for Houston.
It's like winning the playing game of the NCAA tournament, only to become the 16 seed and get beat by 55 by like Kentucky in the next round.
I would say
which
JJ.
One of Houston is standing on this?
JJ. JJ's got his arms over his head like he's Rocky, after he's got done with the steps,
Nolan Ryan's trying to fight somebody.
Hakeem's just standing on the court, just taking it all in. So JJ's on the scores table for sure.
It's funny, Hakeem, and I'm not saying that they all don't belong, but Hakeem really belongs with those LA greats on the left.
Yeah,
he does.
Yeah, I mean, Hakeem to me is the anchor of the Houston one.
Okay, well, we got LA in a sweep here. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. This is absurd. It's absurd. LA2 is absurd. Mike Trout, Tiger Woods, Serena Williams, John Wooden.
It's even more absurd if come back 10 years from now, Trout's done, to see where that all ends up as well. I mean, this actually potentially gets stronger.
Well, it doesn't get worse.
Definitely, definitely will get stronger for sure. Because the unknown of Trout. I mean, if he ends up at 550, 600 home runs, and that's just, I think that's more so on the low end too. He ends up there. This list is.
He'll be in the sixes.
All right, I'm going to try to make an argument for Seattle. Let's
do it.
Try.
So I'll take Griffey over Trout.
Okay. Now where you going?
That's where it ends, sir.
Bird's greatness in her sport is very comparable to Serena Williams' greatness in her sport.
I'll give you one more time if you can say that with a straight face. Because
I was going to say, my argument against you is
true.
Who is the greatest tennis player of all time?
Jean's girl, Margaret Court.
Serena.
Okay. If you ask the greatest WNBA player, you got to think about it.
Bird's fifth.
Maybe you get like one person out of like 100 to say Sue Bird, but yeah.
You think? I think the glove locks up Wooden though. I'm trying. Ichiro is the greatest Japanese ball player ever.
Okay.
Tiger's
not even the greatest golfer of all time. Number 2.
He's the greatest black golfer of all time. So
see,
there's that.
You had to throw that in there. I didn't need that.
You brought race into it when you said Japanese. Yeah.
So
you're right. I didn't need my boat to have many more holes in it.
Oh no, it's got holes, man. You're sinking.
Listen,
you hit an iceberg.
The answer is LA2. I'm kidding, but we haven't had any debate, so I was trying. And it's 4-1. Griffey steals a game.
Nah, I think they get swept here. Griffey might put up 55 in the loss, but it happens. It happens to the best of us.
They get swept, and I think 3 of them are like ugly.
Oh man, Gary Payton. He's by far out of the 8 people here. Like one of these things just ain't like the other.
Yeah,
It's
definitely Gary
GP.
Payton.
I love GP, but
You're the one
Glove
arguing
definitely-
for him.
GP
definitely
deserved to
didn't
be
fit.
on there for Seattle. Anybody else you throw in there is going to say the same thing.
Glove didn't fit this time around. That's all.
No, the glove did not fit, so you must have quit.
Hey, that's the
Well, OJ
show
reference for
name. Show name. Glove don't fit.
We ain't doing that. We'll get people watching this show for the wrong reason.
I'm making that the show name this week.
Ain't doing that.
100%.
Nope.
Glove don't fit.
Well, freaking Casey Anthony logging on here watching the show. I ain't doing none of that shit.
Jesus. She allowed a cell phone.
man.
They
She's
allow
on
that
Peacock
work.
now.
Just say she's got her own show too.
Come on.
She's as delusional as OJ. She's on there like, I don't know what happened. I didn't do it. All right, you say so.
All right, we're getting off. The wheels are coming off the bus here.
Hey, that's what happens when you get those matchups in Mount Rushmore. I guess we had to give it some more flair, you know.
Bro, the Elite Eight in the Mount Rushmore is silly.
Next week's gonna be rough.
No.
Week.
Final
week will be-
Four. There's
Yeah,
one
there's a-
game in the Elite Eight. Throw the back up real quick. There's one game in the Elite Eight that's an argument. Everything else, like you could literally, I'm not trying to be smart. We're not going to do that. But you could legitimately go to the Final Four right now outside of one game. One game is a 7-game series, and I don't know where I'm going.
I know what game it is too, but we're not going to talk about it.
All right,
Not gonna talk
We're not
about
gonna do that. Take it down. Take it down.
it. But
All
you know
right,
what we are going to do? USA.
I believe.
Listen, guys, I've been bought in. I've always been on the USA. I've been a fan forever.
Not so fast, my friend. You told me that we could lose to Iran.
That's the whole.
You told me.
Yeah.
You saw the Wales game. You said, I don't know if this team could beat Iran.
Guys.
Iran. Don't say it wrong.
There's nobody.
Iran.
Yeah, it's Iran. Come on.
It's Iran.
You're right.
There's
You're right.
nobody that's a
Canceled.
bigger supporter of USA soccer than me.
You like the U.S. World Cup soccer team about as much as you stay loyal to Penn State.
I think I'm way more loyal to Penn State than I am to US soccer. Don't lie to yourself. All right, so little World Cup action. The United States is facing the Netherlands on Saturday morning.
Early.
9 a.m. 9
9 a.m.
Set your alarms.
My question I would ask is, did Argentina play yet?
They escaped today. They won
Yeah.
2-0, so they dug themselves out of the hole. Tomorrow's the other big one. Tomorrow Germany plays, so there's a chance. There's a better chance Germany's going home than it was Argentina going home coming into today.
Would
Argentina's
Germany
in.
have to win by 3?
Germany's got to win in general. Now,
Okay,
like
well,
this is where but here's where the conspiracy theories come in. Spain and Japan can kind of like meet behind closed doors and just agree to go run around for 90 minutes and kick the ball around. Because if they tie, then Germany's out. They cannot advance. So I'm very curious to see how that game plays out.
Is that true?
Pretty sure.
I thought Japan lost to Costa Rica.
I think I don't think Japan lost.
They did. They lost 1-0 to Costa Rica.
I looked at it today.
By the way,
know
you
it's a-
laughed at my Costa Rica pick.
They suck, dude. They're like the third worst team in the
They
tournament.
beat Japan.
But they didn't beat Spain. They beat Japan.
Listen, Costa Rica has more points right now in the World Cup than Germany.
Doesn't matter how much they have now. It's going to matter how much they have tomorrow around 4:00.
Correct.
So they're playing for me to have a perfect bracket.
If Costa Rica comes out of that group somehow, I don't even know what happened tomorrow. Something bad happened though.
They're playing Germany.
They are.
Well, Bill, I believe you are correct though. If
No, not correct.
if Spain and Japan go tie, yes, he is.
He's not correct.
Because the goal differential.
yeah.
Okay, so Spain and Japan tie.
Correct.
And Germany wins 4-0 over Costa Rica. Germany advances. I'm right.
Germany,
They have to win 3-0.
They would. They would.
Is it 3-0 assuming Spain and Japan don't score?
No, it's goal differential. If it's tied.
Yeah, because Japan right now is
Yeah,
at
it'll be
0.
tight.
So
Yeah.
Spain. Yeah.
How am I teaching you about the World Cup? Come on,
You just
Bill.
got the number. You got the numbers. I got the numbers in front of me now. So Japan. I mean, if you're Spain,
showing Bill about this World Cup thing. Joseph,
I'm not gonna lie. If Japan wins that game, then Germany might as well not even play. They'd have to win their game 9-0, basically.
Oh, because just the goal differential with Spain.
Spain's got 7. Well, I mean, it will be a little bit different. Obviously that number's going to come down if they lose that game, but it would be still tough. Germany's a big fan of Spain in that one.
How does Costa Rica wins? They're in, right?
No,
they are. They're in. They'd be at 6 points. You can't be out. I was kidding. I know.
No, they wouldn't be in.
They're in. 6 points. You can't.
Not if Japan wins. If
Japan wins, Spain wouldn't have 6 points. Spain would have 5 points.
No, Spain. If Japan wins, they'd have 4 points. It's tight. It's gonna
be interesting. It's gonna be very fun to watch tomorrow. There'll be a lot of scoreboard watching tomorrow in that group.
I was rooting for Argentina to lose because if the United States got past Netherlands, which I think is going to be very tough, they would have had basically a bye week after that because there's going to be 3 shitty teams but now Argentina's there.
Yeah. I wouldn't say that.
A bye. The United States never gets a bye. They scored a total of 2 goals in the entire World Cup, and we're like, yeah, I believe 2 goals.
They also haven't given up any goals non-PK related. So
they've given up 1 PK goal, so that matters just as much.
It does.
1-0 is the most common score in soccer.
All right, guys, break it down. Give me some cuppy action. Some grass ping pong.
Cuppy. I mean, did you watch it? You missed the second half, Gene?
What, the United States game?
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched the whole thing on my phone. Oh. I didn't get to see any of it. I was in a work meeting when it was happening.
Buddy, you talk about my work meetings at 9 p.m. Work meeting during the World Cup.
It was 2 p.m.
Sacrilegious. It comes out every 4 years.
Yeah, really. Have some self-awareness. Don't schedule meetings for the World Cup,
buddy.
Listen, grass ping pong has been very entertaining right now. I like checking the scores. I like keeping up with the scores, and then I watch some of the highlights.
Wait till 2026. It's gonna be chaos.
I'm going.
I will say that that game though was Christian scoring that goal was just so poetic. I mean, it was like a Captain America-esque kind of moment. It was like you go out, you get injured, but you score the goal, and that ends up being the game winner that sends you on to the next round. So
I tell you, there's one thing I did see that I didn't like.
What's that?
If you watch the end of that game, the United States game, you watched the whole thing, right?
I missed the 15 minutes right after the half, but outside of that, yes.
Did you watch the 100th minute?
I did.
That's when it happened. You tell me why he doesn't dribble that ball to the corner and he shoots the ball in net. The game's over. He just dribbled the ball to the corner. Who is that? Who is that idiot? He's an idiot.
That was no, it wasn't way up.
It was like a ridiculous, weird shot on net that had no chance of going in. And
he almost whiffed on the shot. Listen, I don't disagree with you. He takes it to the corner and plays keep away. That's probably the game. He's looking at it that if he hits it good and it goes in, then nothing else matters. So I get it, but that you can't take that chance against a team
that's desperate to advance.
Yeah, and the U.S. looked gassed the last couple of minutes. Obviously, it's 100th minute, but they looked gassed.
It was really at the 106th or 7th minute. If you count the injury time for the first half. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
Listen, I mean, the first half they looked great. I mean, they were definitely the better team. It's, I think the only thing I think that is concerning for them is we've seen it twice now when they get up and they have a lead. They don't continue to play offensive. They get very defensive and go back into their formation and go back into a shell way too easily for my liking.
Yep.
And then, they couldn't keep possession at the end of the game, which is, I think, what frustrated me the most. If they could have kept, possession for just 2 or 3 minutes like they did all game at the end there, let Iran run around, I mean, none of it would have mattered. But, listen, at the same time, they've given up one goal, which was a PK, which he almost saved. They dominated 82 minutes of the Wales game. They were the better team on the field against England, who's the 5th-ranked team in the world. And the first half they took it to Iran. I mean, it's there's glimpses. I mean, for as young as this team is, with the amount of talent they have, and they do play together. They play for each other. I think the thing that's scaring me the most is Burkhalter's substitutions. Some of them just don't make sense to me. I still don't understand why we haven't seen Reyna. Shaq Moore cannot be on the field. I don't know how the dude made the team, but he's been subbed into the last 2 games, and he's made bonehead mistakes in both games. That guy's going to cost us a goal if he keeps getting put on the field. I don't get it. The biggest question now. The biggest question now is, what kind of shape Pulisic's going to be in. He's not on the field Saturday. It's a problem. I mean, he's playing. I know what he said, and I think he's going to play. I don't know if he's going to be 100%, but he's our best player. I mean, however you want to slice it, however you want to cut it, that guy is a legit international superstar soccer player. I mean, he plays at Chelsea. The dude's legit as it gets. Kind of like Critchell said, with the way he played the first 2 games and be a little snake bitten, almost scoring a couple times. He had the shot off the crossbar that absolutely smoked Jordan Pickford. If that was 2 inches lower, that was a goal. For him to put his body on the line like that and score the goal for the team is, it's something. It's a really cool moment to see. So, if he plays Saturday, I'm telling you, dude. I mean, if we're gonna make predictions, I'll make predictions. I think the U.S. makes the Elite Eight. I really do. I think they get past the Netherlands.
And I said it before, Bill. We were on the same page before this all started, that we thought this was going to be the matchup. We thought it was going to be USA versus the Netherlands for a shot at going to the next round. And I fully expect this USA team to win that game. In that kind of situation where obviously you can't end in a draw after the knockout stage is over with. So I think this USA team, the runs that they've been making, they've looked good doing it. I mean, they were, half a step away from a second goal being scored in that game against Iran. So I like what I see from them. But like you said, Bill, once they get that lead, they start to get somewhat complacent, and that's never a good sign. That last, I texted you guys in the group, the last 5 minutes of that game against Iran, I was just, I didn't know what to do. I was just so tight. I'm like, they're going to score here. Like, it's just going to happen. Then they shot the last shot. I'm like, I don't know what's going on here. You play so well for 90 plus minutes, and then last 5 minutes, you're like, all right, let's find a way to lose it. So
got to have, I mean, Dest has to keep playing the way he is. Adams, McKinney's been incredible. His fitness just isn't there quite yet to play a full 90 because of his quad injury. But I mean, he's been unbelievable. Pulisic up front, Sargent I thought had a really good game until he got hurt yesterday. But
I felt like, just from watching on my phone, and I didn't watch the game, was Iran playing dirty because they got a bunch of it's a bad foul yellow cards.
I don't think it was a dirty game at all. I mean, I was actually shocked the first half how
clean the game was.
Yeah, for lack of a better term, how clean it was. Because I was kind of expecting that as well. And it didn't happen at all.
No, nothing too crazy. Other thing we want to, at least I want to highlight, is we talked about the U.S. not scoring, not giving up any goals outside of the PK. Matt Turner has been playing his ass off, and I didn't realize what his story was like before all of this, and all the adversity that he faced. But knowing that now, I think he's like that perfect kind of goalkeeper. Tim Howard for the longest had everyone was behind him. I think the way Matt Turner's performed so far, plus knowing his story, he's got everybody that's locked into U.S. soccer. They're on his side, and he's playing well. So I definitely wanted to give him his shout out as well.
Yeah, he didn't start playing until he got to high school. It's, if you're not familiar with it, Google it. I mean, it'll pop up real quick. He's got a really cool story. I think people don't realize, we've had this, I've had this discussion with other fans, but the one thing the U.S. has always done was produce good goalkeepers, and it's weird. It's really weird. You go all the way back to Tony Meola and start from there. You go Meola, Brad Friedel, Casey Keller, Tim Howard. I mean, you're talking about guys that were all legit number one goalkeepers pretty much. Friedel, Keller, and Howard, all played in the Premier League. I mean, they were, you're talking about legit number one keepers anywhere on the planet. Tim Howard was the first guy, the first really big signing because he was signed by Man U when he was really young. But Matt Turner's kind of working into kind of being that solid number one guy, which was crazy because, everybody kind of assumed that it was going to be, Stefan until he got hurt and, he couldn't stay healthy. He's overplaying. He's the backup at Man City. And then he didn't make the team at all because apparently he's not the best teammate in the world if he's not playing. So they left him off the squad completely. So, but yeah, I mean, it's good for Matt Turner. I mean, we're going to need him. I mean, he's a little shaky with the ball at his feet. I always kind of expect him to just kind of turn around and have a malfunction and kick the ball in his own net. But, he's played well. He's played well, and they're going to need him. I mean, you're going to start to see it where when the U.S. went on that run a couple years ago or 2 World Cups ago with Howard, you start getting into the point where it kind of gets like hockey and a goalie can steal you a game. So, and I think he's capable of doing that. So it'll be something very interesting to watch.
Huge game Saturday morning.
Saturday morning, baby, up and early with the bubbly.
Just like one final question I want to ask you guys before we move on to the NBA. Has your World Cup final or champion changed based off what you've seen so far?
I would say half of it. I mean, I'm a little bit less confident with Brazil because of Neymar's injury, obviously. I had them playing Belgium, I believe. Belgium looked like dog shit the other day. So if I would change one side or the other, I would say I would change Belgium. I think Brazil still has enough that assuming he comes back somewhere in the knockout round, that Brazil goes through and gets to the final. I don't think I would keep Belgium if I was being honest, though.
I've had Brazil over England. I don't know if I'd keep England.
So England's most likely what I would change mine to.
Okay. Well, I'll keep Brazil versus England then because I'm right.
I mean, France lost the game. They're going to advance though, so not too worried about that.
They didn't play anybody.
Yeah, exactly. So not too worried about that. But I think the other side, I had France going up against Brazil in the final, I believe.
Pretty sure we all had Brazil in the final.
Yeah.
And so I would, like Shally said, with Neymar's injury, depending on how serious it is going to be, that will be like the one thing that kind of worries me a little bit. But I'm confident in my winner still in France. I wouldn't change anything there.
Okay. Quick NBA touch. We got to get an NBA. Just some. By the way, the Sixers are getting beat by like 70 by the Cavs right now.
I say they're getting stomped.
Better team.
Knew this was going to happen. Sixers have no Maxey, no Harden.
Is JoJo playing though?
I think so.
Oh, he is.
No Maxey, no Harden. It doesn't matter. But let's get into some of the NBA talk so far. There's a couple things that have really stood out in the National Basketball Association. So I'm going to pull up a couple of questions I have for you guys. Not sure how into it you guys are, but I've been friggin' spot on. Is Boston a lock to come out of the East?
No, they're not a lock to come out of the East.
Not a lock.
They look very good right now, yes. But I think the one thing that similar to how we just talked about the NFL, Bucks got the best player in the world right now, Giannis Antetokounmpo. You got to find a way to stop him for 7 games, and I get it. Boston looks very good right now. Other thing you got to think of is they got a rookie coach on their bench as well. You never know how things are going to adjust for them in the playoffs when it comes to cutting down the roster a little bit, your rotation at least. And then just different matchups that different teams are going to do in the playoffs that you have to adjust to. So I think by no means are they a lock. Are they playing great basketball right now? Yes, but a lock? No, I don't think so.
Okay. I don't think they're a lock either. I just think that they've been the most dominant team in the NBA for the first 20, 21 games.
Cavs beat them twice.
Okay. Well, the
I love
Cavs
it.
have 8 losses and Boston has 4.
And 2 of them have been to the Cavs.
Your point?
I'm just saying, like, there's no lock there.
You're so happy about the Cavs being somewhat relevant.
I am. Of course I am.
Don't be happy. Just stay
I'm
back.
as happy. I'm as happy as you guys are, you know. I know we got a good team this year. I know we got a chance to potentially go to the Eastern Conference Finals, and you know, you guys think you're going to win the finals every year, but you know, let's just be
realistic. If you had to
here.
change one thing about your opening day predictions, what would it be?
The Sixers.
The Lakers.
Oh, I know that for you. You try to tell me about it.
I told you that after that first game, I knew the Lakers aren't. And granted, you know, in their defense, they've been playing better basketball recently. The roster just isn't constructed to win now. They have to make a serious move to even be thought about, and I don't think that's going to be the case for them. Even if they make that serious move, AD's been playing a lot better. LeBron has surprisingly been the weak link of their stars. Russell Westbrook's played better since he's moved to the bench, but that Lakers team just isn't anywhere close to what I thought that they potentially could be.
Getting into prime AD injury time, so he'll be hurt soon.
So your Eastern Conference Finals, Boston versus Milwaukee. You're moving the Sixers out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not too hot about my Western Conference pick either right now. So even though they played better last week, but
who was your Western Conference?
Golden State.
I don't think you should worry about them.
No, it's all right. They'll be all right. Last week and a half.
You have Golden State, better. Denver, and Denver's like.
I mean, I think Denver? The one. Who?
You have Denver? I thought Bill had Golden State, Denver.
I'd have to go back and look. I don't remember who I had them beating. It might be Denver though.
I mean, I think the one thing that I'm kind of not necessarily worried about, but that Warriors team, Clay's just way too inconsistent for me right now. And I know down the road you're going to hope that you get more consistent with Clay, but he had dropped 40 one night, and then last night he's 3 for 9 and misses a potential game tying 3. Clay is the one that Clay's the one guy that I'm kind of worried about. Obviously, he wasn't like phenomenal. He wasn't the Clay that we were used to last year when they won it all, but I think you're going to need some consistency from Clay if you want that Warriors team to be for real.
How high do the Dallas Mavericks have to be as far as seeding wise for Luka to win MVP?
Top 4.
I'll say I think it depends on their record. I think they could be 5 or 6, but if their record's good, I think the West is loaded again this year. I think if they win 50 plus games and Luka's stats are insane, then I think he can win it.
Brandon.
He's just mad because he lost in fantasy this week. It's all good.
Oh boy,
don't worry about him.
That was talked about in the office. That's not sitting too well with him.
Oh, I'm sure.
You know, we almost made a trade today, but he backed out.
I'm shocked when Charlie makes a trade. I just assume it's going to be like absurdly one-sided.
Charlie's traded with me.
Yeah, my trade. That's about the most even trade I think I've ever made. The trade was great.
Yeah, I'm shocked.
You still mad about last year?
That was ridiculous.
Sir, let's not relive it.
Here we go.
All right, so the last question I have is, who wins MVP if it's not Luka? Is it definitely Giannis?
I'm going with Giannis. I mean, that was my preseason pick, so I would say Giannis.
You know who's been really relevant up there? Jason Tatum.
I was just
Jason Tatum's been playing good basketball.
It's not Giannis, it's Tatum.
Warriors haven't been winning like crazy, but Steph's numbers have been up there too.
Yeah, but if we're talking about Luka's win, we have to. Yeah. Like Tatum's averaging 37 and 5. Like,
oh yeah, Tatum's been incredible for sure. I'm just saying. I know Steph. Last I looked, think he was averaging like 31.5 or something close to that.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get into You Got to Be Kidding Me, gentlemen. Cottrell, give me a good one.
Well, I don't have a good one this week because I'm upset that Ohio State lost. So my You Got to Be Kidding Me this week is going to Ryan Day, his entire coaching staff, everybody on the Bucks roster. You can't lose that game for the second year in a row, especially when you've been hearing about it all year for the last 365 days. And Ryan Day was taking the high road with everything, as he should. I'll give him credit for that, but I thought he would take that game a little bit more personal, and it just seemed like he was outcoached in that one. So he gets it from me for his lack of preparation and all the mistakes that he made during that game.
You gotta be kidding me!
Wait, so you're congratulating for taking that he didn't say something? You're going to hang 100 on us, something like that this year.
He did. Yeah, he did the right thing there, but then he didn't. He was supposed to do the right thing there, win the game, and then say something absurd afterwards. But he didn't do that. So he's You Got to Be Kidding Me of the week. And he's probably in the back of my mind, he's going to be the You Got to Be Kidding Me for the next 365 days, unless we find a way to see each other in the playoffs. So,
Bill, give me a good one.
Some people wake up on third and think they had a triple. I don't know. I'm going with Oregon football player DJ Johnson. If you're not familiar, Oregon played Oregon State this week in the Civil War. That's the name of their rivalry game. They played it last week every year. Oregon State upset Oregon. Fans stormed the field. There was a personnel guy there for the Ducks trying to get DJ off the field, and the kid was literally running by and going to a group of kids on the field or fans just to celebrate. And as he's walking by, DJ Johnson just punches him in the back of the head for no reason. I understand, you're frustrated. That was kind of really the final nail in the coffin for your season, but you can't be punching. You can't be punching fans that run on the field. If you want to make the argument that storming the field's getting a little out of control or something like that, I would at least listen to it. I think it's one of the parts of college football and college basketball when it happens. But for me this week, I understand you're upset that you lost, but have it be a lesson learned and get suspended. And as you should, you should get sat down for a couple games next year. But you can't because you lost the football game. So this week for me, DJ Johnson, Oregon linebacker.
You gotta be kidding me!
I love that photo with I don't care what his name is, but he's always Ari Gold to me. With his hands up like this.
It's Luke Wilson.
Yeah. It's Ari Gold. So mine is all right, guys, you got to bear with me here. Mine's a little good, a little bad, but it's a little dicey, and I probably shouldn't do it, but I'm going to. So my You Got to Be Kidding Me this week is the Iranian reporter that grilled the United States captain. And I'm going to read it to you. I just want to read you the transcript so I don't screw it up. But at one point, an Iranian journalist asked about a social media post from the United States soccer Twitter account that controversially included an edited Iranian flag. Okay, and then Tyler Adams, the captain of the United States Olympic team, was questioned about him mispronouncing Iran by calling it Iran, which it's very notably done in a lot of areas, and it's not right. And I don't want to explain it; it's not right, but there's a lot of people that pronounce it Iran mistakenly. He said, first of all, you say you support the Iranian people, but you're pronouncing our country's name wrong. Our country is Iran, not Iran. Please, once and for all, let's get this clear, said the journalist from the Iranian state-owned Press TV. Second of all, are you okay representing a country that has so much discrimination against black people in its own borders? Look, I'm going to try to be as nice and less dicey as possible. But the things that happen in Iran were being protested by their own team, to the point that their team is so nervous about going home with the punishment they could face. Tyler Adams handled that with so much class, handled that so well, and I'm so proud that he is a representation of our country. I can't even fathom what I would have said if I was in that moment. What I would have said if he asked me questions about the mispronunciations and what our country stands for, when the things that happen in Iran are being protested by their own soccer team. I don't want to go too far into it because I want to be careful, but it's embarrassing that you handled yourself like that, and Tyler Adams handled that with so much class, and I'm so proud to have him as a representation of our country. So for this week, the Iranian reporter that
You gotta be kidding me.
thank you. I did my best there, guys, because I really wanted to say some shit I probably shouldn't.
I think you did a great job.
But Tyler Adams, man, if I wasn't a big United States soccer fan, he makes me want to be a big. He makes me want to be a bigger fan.
He's a really good kid.
Something
really
like
good
that
kid.
makes me want to really support them more. And I'm super happy that they sent Iran home and moved on to the knockout round. And it's poetic that they sent him home that way. But I want to thank everyone for listening, supporters. We had our greatest download month in the history of Wire to Wire. Better than the month where we had the giveaway, where we like download our stuff and we'll give you some shirts. We beat it. And it was, you know what made it so special to me? That it was so generic, guys. Like we didn't ask everybody to download every week. We didn't like bother our friends to download and steal their phone. We just put out content. And I got to thank Katra for really stepping up huge and running the ones and twos and creating the graphics and putting in the extra work. I really appreciate you, man. I think that the people out there need to know how much work and how awesome you are. And if you don't know already, man, we love Cottrell. I love Cottrell. I know the listeners love Cottrell. I'm sure Bill shares sentiment outside of their Ohio State, Michigan beef. But I just, want to thank you guys so much for downloading our show. Listen to us on Facebook, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Podcast. Any final thoughts, gentlemen? I got one at the end, and if you guys, I want to be left this one, Bill. You probably won't do it anyway, but
I do real quick. We have a response to some beef here. I want to get it out there because it's funny. So earlier, we know Patrick Peterson said Kyler Murray doesn't care about anybody but Kyler Murray on his All Things Covered podcast. Well, Kyler Murray took to Twitter. He's got a quote tweet out right now. He said, "This isn't true. You on some weird shit at P2, which is Patrick Peterson's at name. You got my number. If you really felt like this as a big bro or a mentor, you're supposed to call me and tell me, not drag me so your podcast can grow." I think that's a good way to handle it, Kyler. But I mean, your actions show otherwise. I think Kyler Murray only cares about Kyler Murray, but we will see where this beef goes.
He's not the first person to say something this week. One of his offensive linemen went on another podcast this week, said he's not the best teammate in the world. I mean, I think a lot of it's
evident. It's so evident from watching him that he's not a great teammate.
His mannerisms and everything, you see him on the field, how he interacts with his teammates when things go bad. He's not he tried to show up, Cliff Kingsbury, no matter what you think of him, showing up your head coach and showing up DeAndre Hopkins on the sideline, AJ Green last year. At some point, you got to realize that it's not them, it's you.
Yeah. He went to Aaron Rodgers' camp as a kid.
There you
God,
go.
I love it.
That's funny.
Any final thoughts, Bill?
No, I got nothing, bro. I don't know what you got, but take it away.
I want to take a second to wish one of our listeners who is an avid listener. He's constantly in the podcast. He's constantly supporting, sharing our stuff. Happy birthday. Happy birthday, Chris Hackney. Appreciate everything you do, man. The tournament that you ran in November, the charity tournament that you ran, and I wish you have a happy birthday, man. Super, super happy to know you, man. I thank you for listening each week. I didn't see you in the chat tonight, but I'm sure I'll see you in the chat tomorrow. You never know, because Hackney Creep likes the posts like afterwards, like tomorrow. If you can't listen to it tonight, but just wanted to thank you for your support and wish you the happiest of birthdays.
Happy birthday, Hack.
Yes, sir. Happy birthday.
Outside of that, this is show 112. 112, what it is right now. Wire to wire. Signing out.